I know you can paint this. Here are all the supplies needed. This is a beginner-friendly step-by-step tutorial. So pull up a chair and join me in my studio for this fun, whimsical painting of this little rabbit. All right, everybody. So you have your supplies already, and we're going to be drawing a landscape. So in this whimsical landscape, you can do whatever hills you want, as many as you want. Just have fun with it. So I'm just going to put a few hills. And I want them kind of, I don't know, whimsical, I guess you could say. And we'll put another one, probably up like this. Right, so I have drawn on my marks with, this is a Conte pastel, I believe it is. And this way I can erase it. My board is already been painted. This is a 6x8 with black gesso, and that was the Gesso and Ground by Golden. And now I'm wanting to do the background first. So a lot of this black is going to show through the colors we're going to use. So we're going to be using 3 colors basically to start. And we want, this is Manganese Blue Hue by Golden, and this one is Cobalt Teal by Golden. Now I'm pretty sure Golden does not sell this anymore, but you can get it fairly similar in other brands, so you'll have to check out that. This is a fairly stiffer brush, or you can use actually one of these. These are great. These are the Princeton's Velvet Touch Angle Shaders. They're a little on the stiff side, but they keep a nice chiseled edge. You want to get some glazing fluid. So I'm just going to add a little bit. You don't need a lot. This lasts a long time because it's very minimal on how much you use. Okay, so it just helps with how you spread your paint. And this is heavy-bodied paint, so it's going to take a little bit more to get it going. So let's see, there we go. And I guess I can, well, I'll put it like this for now, or I can hold it. So let's put kind of a lighter area in here. We could even take some gold if you wanted to, or a bit of yellow. I'm going to just use this manganese, it's hard to say, manganese blue hue, and just mix some of that with a bit of glazing medium. And I'm just going to basically go on the top. And I'm not too worried about having that black show through. Make it a little bit thicker down the sides here. Remember, we're going to be doing quite a few layers to this. And I'll take it right over to the top here. Something on my brush. And then I'm just going to kind of wisp it down into that black area too. But I don't want it really strong. If you have a sponge, you could use a sponge too. Now we can add a little bit of this teal, And I'm not going to wait for it to dry. I'm just going to put it right in and mix them. This way you get a really nice combination of different shades of these two colors. And I'm just lightly going over top. Now I didn't put any glazing medium on my brush this time because there's already that in the first application that we did with the manganese. So it's going to mix in with that anyways. Alright, and now we're going to do the same thing, and this back hill is going to be darker. It's nighttime, so it's going to be a little bit darker, and we can decide whether we want the moon out or we'll see. But I do want this to be a little bit thicker on the very top here. You can cover up that white chalk line. And then I'm just going to swish it down. I didn't put any more on my brush. And this way, it's almost like dry brushing. Eventually, you'll run out of paint out of your brush, but you can still just gently bring it down into that dark area. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, you can just keep bringing it down a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit on of the medium on, and that'll help spread it, but it'll be much thinner looking. Just lightly. The lighter your touch is, the less of mark you'll leave as far as brush marks. Okay. Now the next one, we're going to add a little bit of the teal end of my manganese color. So it's going to be a little different, and we can do the whole hill this color. Now as you can see, you don't need a whole lot of paint when you're doing a small canvas like this. It's surprising how far you can make this paint stretch. Now remember, we're going to be doing a lot of layers on this. We're going to put some lighter areas and snow and that type of thing. So don't get too worried about it getting perfect coat on there, because there's going to be quite a few other things that we're going to put on there. All right. I'm just going to wipe my brush off again. Alright, and then this one here is going to be the brightest, so I'm just going to do it in this teal color, cobalt teal. And I'm going to try and get as much of a full color on there. Don't worry if you don't, we're going to put some lighter shades in here, so it will eventually get covered. Might have a few brush marks, but that's okay. And everyone's different. Maybe you like brush marks in your work. If you do, just keep in mind how you like them going? Do you want them to follow the line of the hill? Or do you want them to go up and down? I'm going to put a little bit of medium on here just so that I get into those textures of the canvas. I do like to have that covered. That's just preference for me. Maybe you like the look of the canvas. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give that a dry. Okay, so now that it's dry, we want to start adding a little bit more opaqueness, I guess you could say. So some of these areas are going to have a little bit more of the same color for now, like this back hill here. I want to be fairly blue, and mostly on the top here. So I'm just going to put another layer of this magnesium, what is it called? Manganese. Manganese, oh my god. Of this blue. And we'll add some white to this too, but I just wanted to just get this a little bit more opaque on the top part here. And bring it down into here just slightly. Okay. This one here is going to have a little bit of those two colors. So it was a how do you say that? Manganese blue and the teal, and I'm going to put a little bit of white with it. Okay. So that, take it out of my brush. Wipe my brush off. Maybe a little bit more blue. I don't want it too bright. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then I'm just going to go on the, more or less on the top part of this. So it kind of sweeps down. And I want a fairly opaque top part. And then you can take a little bit of your medium, your glazing medium, and then just sweep that in. Make it a little more softer looking. Okay. Remember, we're still going to be adding quite a bit of layers with trees and bushes, and I think I'm going to add a little bit more blue on the bottom here, just to change this up a little bit. You do whatever you think is right as far as, this is really It's not a right or a wrong in doing these ones. It's kind of intuitive, actually. It's whatever your eye and your mind says, I like that. Okay. And this one here, I'm going to have a little more of that teal, but quite a bit of white in it. And it's going to have more or less the whitest part on the top of the hill, of course, because that's where the light would be hitting it. And moonlight, I guess, or the snow reflection would be bright there. Okay. And I'm just going to bring that down into the like so. And I think maybe take a little bit of the teal color just to soften that a little bit. And up here, I think I'm going to take a little more of that with some, I'm just going to put a little bit more color in here. I think it was just lacking a little bit. Again, you do it till you like it. There's no real wrong way of doing this. Just keep, that's the nice thing about acrylics, is you just keep adding until you really say, yep, there it is. That's what I like. If you find you're lifting your paint, let it dry and then go back on it again. Okay, so now up here, I want this side to be more or less the brightest side. So I'm going to add, this was manganese blue up here. I'm going to bring that in a little bit more, a little more brighter in there. And I kind of mixed a little bit of the teal with that too. And then I'm going to add just a smidge of white. And I'm going to just keep it more or less in this corner. And you can add a little bit more blue and just blend it in. If you find your brush is kind of what they call dragging, you can feel it. It's not slipping it like it should with the paint. Then you can add a little bit of the easing medium, a smidgen more up here. I want it fairly opaque, right in that main corner there. All right, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of this, the combination of these two colors. I think I want a little bit of difference in color right down in here, kind of the combo of both. Just give it a little bit of difference. And I'm going to make this up here a little bit brighter. And a little bit of glazing medium on my brush so I can help that along. Okay, let's bring it down into there a little bit. There, that's looking good. And maybe a little bit more on the top part of this here again. And this is fairly dry. Now, the one thing you have to remember is that when you're using glazing medium, it takes a little bit longer to dry. Okay. And just a little bit on my brush again, the glazing medium. I'm just going to go on the bottom part here just to soften any of those blue areas that aren't quite gradient into that black. I want it gradually going in. Same with here. So by adding a little bit of your glazing medium, it kind of reacts like a it softens that layer that you just put on if it's dry, so you're able to move it. It's almost like, you know how you do watercolor where you can reactivate it. It's kind of the same way of using it. Okay, so there you go. There's. I want to start putting in some trees. So these are going to be very whimsical looking trees. I like using an angle brush because then you can get a straight line and real narrow lines. But I don't want to use strictly just white. So what I want to do is I'm going to mix that white with some of this blue here, and I just want a very slightly different white, not too blue, not too white. Okay, and now we can put the trunks of the trees in. So we're going to have, you can put them however you want. Just remember that up front, closest to you, the branches will be larger, and further away over the hills and stuff, they'll be smaller. So let's put a few larger trees, and they can go all the way up to the top. We can just put the branches in right now. And I'm going to make this a little bit thicker on the bottom. And it doesn't have to be anything, you know, it's very whimsical. Let's make this one a little bit bigger. Like that. We can always go over and put a little bit more on there if you want, but just get it started so you know where your trees and stuff are going to go. And I think I'm going to put kind of down in here is going to be like a gully. So I want a fairly little more on the bluer side, so because it's going to be in the shadows. Now I don't want to use grays or any other color but what we have here. So I'm going to actually use some medium. So my glazing medium, And this way it'll go on thin looking. And we'll just put a tree here, like that. Smaller though, smaller circumference of the branches. Let's put another one, I don't know, let's put another one right here. Just make them up as you go. You can put as many as you want or as few. You could also use a Posca pen to do this if you'd like to do that. It's always a good idea to learn how to use your script liners and that type of thing. Now, what I'm going to do is take a scruffy brush. So a Deerfoot stippler is good, something like this, and I'm not going to wet it. And what I want to do is I'm going to make some tree, kind of snowy background trees. So this is just that white and blue. And I'm going to probably just put a bit. And I'm not going to fill it in really. I'm just going to move it around. Because you still want to see some of that background. Just make the shape of a some kind of tree or bush or whatever you want to do. And then let's make one in blue too. So I'm just going to take a little more of that manganese blue. And let's put one, well, we'll cover this up, but that's fine. So let's maybe even darker. So maybe there's a nice big tree in here. We can always fix, redo stuff, so don't get too worried about going over top of stuff that's there. Let's put another one right in here maybe. A little bush maybe. Maybe some multicolored. A little bit darker. Like that. And let's see, let's do something really kind of bright. And I got a string, something on my, let's do a really soft with this teal. Okay, maybe a little bush of, or tree, whatever you want it to be, can be there. And I think I'm going to put some, maybe almost white in here. Well, I guess it is white, but there's a bit of blue on my brush. I haven't been cleaning my brush, and I'm going to leave some of that background to shine through too. Okay. And then I'm just going to wipe it off with a paper towel. And let's see, let's put a really dark in here. So I just have the manganese blue. I'm going to scruff it off a bit. And let's put, well, that's about the same. Maybe we need some yellow or something. I'm going to put it up here. right in here where this other tree can be. And I'm not going to cover all the area, but some of it. Like that. Maybe a little bit darker. Just to make that a little different. Okay. And wipe my brush off again. I don't want it real wet. And let's get some of that white again. And this little tree here, maybe, let's see, maybe this is right in front. A little bit different. Maybe the top parts are a little bit brighter. You could do the same with this here. Make it a little brighter on the very top. Okay, so now what we can do is put our stems back in. So you can use your small angle, or you could use a, let's see, this one I think is gonna be like this. So it's not like your typical tree. Maybe this one. Take a smaller brush and do that. I think I want this one here, white, and we're going to have it kind of leaning in a little bit. Might have to go over it a couple times. That's fine. I'm even taking a little bit of the paint off, which kind of works to my advantage. And then I think I'll do that one with a smaller script liner. So I have a smaller round here. And we can get into a little bit more smaller. Or you could take a Posca too. That would work. I might even just do these a little bit darker. Let's put some, we'll see how much they stand out. Might have to let them dry a little bit. Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna have to let it dry. Just picking it up. Okay. So let's put in a little house. So I'm going to just have a plain white little house. Right, and just peeking Now you could have either here or here. It doesn't much matter. Let's put a little house right in here. So he's kind of just peeking through the trees here. We'll give it some windows. I'm just going to color it in and just a couple windows maybe, just to show that it's a house. And just my roof line, and maybe the roof line can be dark or a little different than the colors that are there. So let's put my roof line in here. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular, but very, very subtle. But it's cute. Okay. I'm going to dry that now. Alright, so I have some Poscas, and we could do this color or this color. Let's see, that's more purpley. I don't want to go into something too different, so we have these three here. And what I'm going to do is we'll emphasize some of these tree areas, make them a little more defined, and they're more opaque. So I'm just going to do some scratchy marks to make it look like it's a branch. And you can add as many branches as you want. So we have one there. Let's bring them as they go up the tree. Just remember that they will get smaller, won't be as big. Let's see. That looks pretty good. And you can do as much as you want as far as stems and whatever. Some people like to do even little leaves. I don't think I'm going to put leaves in, but I want just to represent the tree. And let's see, we can have this tree maybe just at the top of the house. Maybe there's a couple. Like that. Here's another tree. And this one here could be, I don't know, some kind of a bush maybe. It's a little closer. Gotta make sure you clean your nib off. And I see that this is picking up some of that. Because if it dries on your nib, it's going to wreck your nib. That. Okay, this one here, just color it in a little bit. This one's not showing as much. Maybe we'll do that one in blue, but I am going to do this one in white and maybe even extend it like that. The tops are always got more little twigs in it. You can make yours very pattern oriented if you wanted to. That would look cool too. This one here, let's do this one. So it's kind of hidden behind the one in front. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little line across there, make sure the windows are a little more defined. Maybe a few more little doodads on the ends. And you could make them different because of the type of tree it is. So you're going to make maybe all the blue trees have a certain pattern. Let's put some more on these. Some more busy on the top. That changes the look again. And it's kind of like doodling but with paint. As well. Just take some of this manganese blue and let's put some little bit of that's not bad. Makes it show up. Get a little thicker there. I kind of wanted to keep the same color blue. Okay. And this one here, let's put some little white marks. So I'm just going to turn it, and I'm just going to make some little teardrops. Like I said, you can make as many patterns as you want. You could have it very random. You could have them patterned out in a certain way. Just have fun with it. Now normally I use journal pages to do most of my paintings in, but I thought I would show you what it was like without. Okay. Let's see. What else can we do here? I wonder if this one. I'm just going to make some squirrely, some scribbles in this. Just on the very top. Just to change that up a little bit. There. See? I guess I should be. That's better. And let's put a little bit of this blue in here. So I'm just going to go up and down, kind of like bark would be. And then let's dry that. Now what we want to do is put a bunny in there. So there's the bunny I have for you. And I'm going to make mine smaller. And he's going to be right about here, page. So where did I put that pencil? Here it is. So he's going to be, let's see. Now you can have them going like this. Or the other way. So what I did was I scaled him down, and what I want to do is just draw around him. Do I want him there? Maybe. Let's see. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to use white. I'm just going to fill him in with white right over top of everything. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of tracing paper here. Might have to do it like this. Okay, and I'm just going to draw some of those areas in. Now, you can make yours as big or small as you want. Depending on your canvas. Okay, I think that's all I need. There. And now we can color this in. So I am going to use a little bit of black. So I have my gesso that I used in the background, and that's what I'm going to use in my black. And what I'm going to do is more or less just use a little bit of gray. Okay, so I am just covering up this graphite. Now you could use this to your advantage and just color it in with some gesso or the white paint again. I can still see through it, so it just dulled some of those real dirty spots down. I'm going to even go over the eye like that. Now we can use that to our advantage by keeping some of those marks for shaded areas. So your bunny, I'm going to just take a little bit of black here. It's on the tip of my brush here. And I'm going to just put it over here. And some white. I want a fair amount of white. I don't want it too dark. And I want a brush that's a little stiffer yet, more of a bristle brush. So let's see, let's try this one. And it's not been wet. And what I want to do is just under here, where his chin would be, or his neck, and I'm just brushing those areas in there, and right in here too. So you see a lot of the brush mark on the white. So in here is very dark and inside his ear. And then it kind of sweeps out as you go up. Like that. And the tips of this is a jackrabbit, so We're going to make him with his dark little points on his ears. They have these darker tipped ears. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that. And if you find it's too dark, you can always just add a little bit of white and go back over it again. These guys are very easy to do. But they are cute. I like them. I'm going to just take a little bit of white, blend in there again, sweep it up into that. If I find there was too much or it's too dark, just use a little bit of white, like so. And there might be a little bit of a shadow under on this side of the ear. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow on the top of the ear. Just a bit like that. Very simple little guy. I want the center in there fairly dark. And like that. And let's see what else. Underneath the eye, be dark. Leave that little, it's like they have these little bulges. And just above the eye to be a little bit darker, but leave the one area. Down his nose. And that's the front of his shoulder there. So he's kind of like that. It'd be darker in there. Around his little muzzle. And his cute little mouth there. Okay, now I'm going to just take my other brush and I can go in and make some a little bit smoother, not too much, a little bit smoother coloring. Just keep adding white between white and gray. If you wanted a more smoother look, I know a lot of these type paintings, they kind of show them as smooth looking, but you don't have to do it that way. You can make them however you want. His little nose, and under his eye. And then I'm going to make his eye. So his eye's fairly dark. that. And I'm going to do gray for the iris. I'm not going to bring any other colors in. I just want to keep it almost monochromatic in a way. That's kind of watery. And we'll just put I'll just cover the whole thing. It's easier that way. And then we can put the black back in. So he's got a fairly big pupil. It's nighttime. And then we'll put a little flicker of glint in his eye also. Let's make this a little bit. It's kind of a roundish look. And underneath his little nose is darker. Like this. Okay. Let's get this eye in. That. And then he'll have a little white area on his eye, so one here and then another one right up here. And I'm going to put a little bit of gray in the corner of his eye here. That. And let's gray this a little bit more down here. Just play with it until you like it. And I'm going to put some white in his ears. He's got fluff coming out of his ears here. So you could do this with a Posca too. Let's put a little bit of this in and then we'll put a little bit more in with Posca. More of the bright. Okay. And his little nose would typically be pink, but I'm just going to use this gray. We're kind of doing this in monochromatic. So it'd be a little bit darker on the bottom. Because of the shadow. Okay. And just over the one side a little bit, like that. A little bit more, just on the bottom there. Just on the coming out from that center point too. It's just a little bit grayish looking to give that round look. And maybe a little bit in here. And then just take some white, brighten that center line up in here a little bit, just a little, and then right under here, just a smidge. Highlight on his nose. I'm just going to put a little bit more black in here. Okay, well, let's dry that. Alright, so now let's take our white Posca and we'll put some fluffs on his ears. Just like that. And maybe a few on his little chin here. And just a little bit more of a shadow over this part of his eye. Just a little bit. That's not quite enough. There, that'll do. And that. And now I want to give him a little bit of eyelashes. So his eyelashes are kind of going from here. And then his little whiskers. Like that. They're a little bit thick, but I think I'm just gonna put a few hairs in there too, just because. Maybe tip his ears just a smidge with black. Just a few hairs that come down. Like that. That's looking good. All right. Maybe even the roof line here. Just so that it's a little more noticeable. And now we can put a little bit more in this area. And what we're going to do is put in, now if you have stencils that are fairly small, you could use those, or you can make your own doodles up of plants. So a lot of times you can just put a bunch of and then just put little leaves on your doodles. I know this doesn't necessarily look like a winter thing, but this is fantasy, so we can put whatever we want. You could make tissels. And it just fills it up, eh? That was the idea. It just gives it more interest and contrast with the color that it's laying on. That's kind of the secret of doing these, is softness yet contrast is the trick. Okay, and then let's see, what else could we do? Maybe, I think we need a stencil. I have this here, this little piece of fern-like, that would work. Or you could even just use something like this, a flourish that could go on top. I think I'm going to use this though. I like this little, and I'm going to probably put a few in. Maybe in black. Yeah, maybe black. So I got that. Just going to dip this little sponge. And I'm going to make sure it stays good and down. Not bad. We could make some smaller ones. They don't all have to be the same. Like that. Overlap them too. Could put one like this here. And then I want to make sure that that kind of shows through, so that one didn't turn out as well. So let's put a couple in here. You kind of have to really watch your amount of water on your sponge. We can fix that though. So let's dry that, and then we can put a swirl, I think. Something like this in white. I'm gonna do some swirls. Yeah, that looks good. And let's wash that off though. Okay. Yeah, I like that. So see, it's a little bit more busier, I guess you could say. And I think I want some stars and stuff in the sky. This is a bristle brush. And you want enough water on your brush though, so that it sprays. Like that. And maybe just a little bit more of a brighter area in there, I think. So I'm going to take my Deerfoot stippler again, and this time I think I'm going to brighten this area up with this white. That's the stars. Just gonna let that like that. Yeah, that's better. And maybe, let's see. Yeah, that looks pretty good as far as weight on one side to the other. So I think that'll work. I don't know, it's just calling me. The things are still, just something needs to be done. I think right here just needed a little bit more of a just right there. Doesn't have to be a lot. Yeah, just like that. There, that's better. Yeah, I like that. It's funny, just a few little dabs, you know, and that's all you need. I think it's done. Let's go right in and we'll take a picture.